I'm Liz Larson.
And I'm Bill McKenna.
And together, we created the Cogno Movement System. And we'd like to welcome you to the New Life Perspectives radio show,
where we're going to be sharing with you tools, tips, and ideas that are going to change your life.
Hello, hello in UK Health Radio Land. I am Liz Larson, and I am here with my good friend and business partner,
Bill McKenna.
And we are the hosts of the New Life Perspectives radio show and the team behind the Cogno Movement Systems. So today, it's just me and Bill. We don't have a guest. We really wanted to talk today about something that people say again and again all the time, and in our business, we hear it every day. They want to change their life. They want to change their life. What does that mean, really? Bill and I were talking about it off camera. It really means that if you change your life, everything's different, right?
Right. We want peace, harmony, excitement, a different house, a different mate, a different car. I ultimately just want those things and those changes so I feel different.
Yeah.
That's what we're really saying. I don't like the way I feel. I am not pleased with the way things are. In some way, shape, or form. The new job, the more money, the different paint color in my living room, the different appliances in my kitchen, my remodeled bathroom, my mate that is in better shape, that has a physique that I like, that offers something. So it is ultimately really about wanting to change something in the exterior so I feel different. Very few people get it that whatever they're doing, they're paying the money for a new car or a new house or whatever it might be, is what they're really trying to do is have a different life experience, feel differently.
Yeah.
And this is why things last for a little while, like, oh yeah, I did go and get write the check and get the new car. And for a little while, there's some satisfaction and enjoyment, and then it's right back to it. You talk about lottery winners, going through this type of thing where there's a period of elation when one wins, and then eventually, after about a year, they settle into about the same level of happiness that they had before. That's because it only lasts so long. The excitement or thrill or satisfaction of whatever it might be only lasts so long to change our feelings. So we get on a treadmill over and over trying to change the exterior. How many people do you know that will do this? They'll buy one car after the next, or they'll get fixated on something. Shoes, right? I want the shoes with the red bottoms on them. Oh yeah, that are going to do it. Oh, I know what. You know what's better than one pair of shoes that's got the red bottom? Two pair of shoes that got the red bottom. So everybody's got it,
Oh my gosh, who do I know? I've done it myself a million times. I have to say, though, Cogno Movement has changed my perspective so much. And we'll get into that. I mean, I think that's really what we wanted to share today is the different way that we think about this, you and I, and all the Cogno movers out there. But man, if I only got to this place in my business, I know I'd be happy, right?
Right.
And then I got there in the past, and I felt exactly the same as did before. And not only that, I would realize, holy crap, I don't want this. It comes with all these problems. I
Yeah.
realized one time, and this was funny. I wanted to go somewhere. I didn't like where I was at, and I wanted to go somewhere else. And so, I went on this trip. I got somewhere else and realized, oh, holy crap, I can be miserable anywhere.
Yeah.
So, when people talk about changing their life, you're 100% right. We're almost always talking about an external condition. We all think life would be easier if we had more money. And, in a lot of ways, that could be true. That always depends on how you get that money, right? And what are the circumstances around it? Could make life a whole lot harder. So we want to change our external or our internal to change the way we ultimately feel. And we know that that change can be made on the power lines in your body, in your nervous system. Functionally, we end up changing who we really are. We end up changing our core perspective, how we see the world, right? How we see ourselves, how we see manifestation, how we see energy. I was talking to someone this morning, and this is a common theme. This is not unusual, who didn't want to be successful because then their mate would have the satisfaction of them being successful, right? They were holding themselves back out of spite for somebody else, right? How often do we do that? Well, gosh, if I make this change and if I make all this money or I get a fit body, well, geez, then my husband, who's a jerk, he gets to experience it too.
Right.
We get in these
Right.
funny tug of wars. We want to change our life. And then what happens? What are the ramifications of changing our life? What are the ramifications of changing who you are? So fundamentally, you've got to change those core perspectives for your life to change in a way that really brings joy, that really brings excitement, that really does bring a new life. Because otherwise, you change the external, you change the details, but you're still who you are and you still feel the way you did.
That's true. I work, obviously, this is cognitive movement is the modality that we utilize to change the way a person feels, and then the circumstances outside of them change. So this is kind of an interesting phenomenon. When you were born, typically what happens for a human is that they learn, change my exterior, and then it will change how I feel. Now, with cognitive movement, we have flipped that on its head. We actually are able to change fundamentally how a person feels, and then the exterior changes. What manifests in your life changes. I had a great example. We do this free Cogno hour. Anybody can come to it, and also, people share their life experience. Yesterday, there was this wonderful woman who came on, and she had begun working with the process of cognitive movement. Now, cognitive movement really is a system where you feel how you feel. Let's say if I don't feel good, that you let yourself not feel good, and you do a series of physical exercises. It's a series of movements that end up changing permanently, typically, your experience of life. And what it's doing, it's rewiring your brain. It's rewiring your neurological system in your body. So this woman, what happened is that she said, yeah, I did this. And she happened to be a RN, a nurse. And she felt like she wanted to have more compassion in her work, that she felt like she kind of tries, but she was held back, emotionally reserved, and unconnected with her work, with the patients. You know, she did her best, but after doing the work and clearing out the resistance in her brain and neurology, not only did she say that her satisfaction at work went way up and she felt connected to the patients, and she felt like she was hearing more. And not only that, but she said a bunch of other things changed in her life. When we asked her, we were in this session, we asked her, hey, what is has anything else changed, like any relationships? And she started laughing. It's like she didn't even realize what had happened, because it's so incredibly neurologically natural. But she said that her relationship with her mother was completely transformed. She says she's getting along like she never has in her entire life. And with her 4 children, she said, there is peace in my house and a flow. That's what she said. And anyway, she had been through a few cognitive movement sessions with one of our practitioners. Obviously, this is something that you could actually do on your own, but it's also really great to work with somebody as well. So this story is not really kind of a new story. This is typical, and it occurred to me during this that really she is getting to the core of what everybody wants. When you think about winning the lottery, and obviously there's elation, there's thoughts of, the new jet, new house, new whatever, shopping sprees and that sort of thing. If you were able to distill it, if you actually ended up distilling, really what you're getting is excitement for life, is appreciation, a sense of peace, a sense of freedom. Like, the boss, right? Who, now I'm free. I don't have that negative feeling of pressure. I don't have the negative feeling of pressure about a mortgage or whatever. I just want to feel free. And that lottery gives you that feeling. Well, there's another way. And the other way is to transform how you feel inside of you. There's really some interesting things that we're going to discuss right after this, is this commercial break that's coming up. But it is, why do I feel that way? And one of the secrets that we're going to talk about right after this is the scientific proof that this might not even be your feeling. I know it sounds strange, but right after this break, we're going to come back and I'll tell you all about why this is scientifically proven that it could be your ancestors. Take a minute, listen to our sponsor here, UK Health Radio, and what they have to say, and then we'll be right on back.
Okay, so we're back, and we were going to talk about how this might be your ancestors. But right before you do that, I want to give one more little piece of science fact, something for people to think about. You know how we talk about the brain, the hemispheres of the brain, right?
Right.
We talk about that the right one maybe is more creative and the left one is more linear. But Ian McGilchrist, I heard him on a podcast the other day, was talking about how they might actually have different personalities. And they absolutely have different perspectives. So even just changing which hemisphere of the brain that you think, feel about things in your neurology can start to change this process that we're talking about. So we'll save a little bit more of that for later, but tell us, how does it go deeper? How can it actually be our ancestors? I mean, I think we've heard about past lives, but you're talking about physically, right?
I'm talking physically. So an experiment was done at a university. I think it was University of Southern California, San Diego, I think. And there was a professor, Dr. Diaz. Dr. Diaz was curious about trauma and how previous generations affect us, right? Humans, or even animals. So he put lab mice into a cage, and he electrified the cage so that at will he could physically shock the rats, like static charges, shocking the mice, lab mice. So he had this vial of a fruity chemical smell. And what he did is he opened the lid of the vial and then let this fruity smell waft over the mice so they could smell it. And then he shocked the mice. And obviously the mice are, oh my gosh, imagine that being a human, right? The fruity smell comes and all of a sudden you got shocked in your house. That's not pleasant at all. I am not advocating his work, but there was an outcome which is pretty tremendous. So he did this a bunch of times. He would put down the fruity smell and then boom, shock the mice. He did it over and over. So now these mice are traumatized. And when that fruity smell would come, the mice would go crazy. It's like, oh no, it's on now. This is not gonna be good. It's coming. And then he ended up taking the sperm out of an egg out of these mice and implanted, did an artificial insemination into another mice that had never come in contact with the mice that went through this experiment. Well, that might, they ended up having the offspring and, waited until they had grown. And then he had them in a box and he put the fruity smell over them. And the mice went nuts. They were like, oh, well, okay. And he didn't shock them. Then he took the egg and eggs and sperm from them, and then went and did it again. So generations, right? He did generations of separation. And I think he went something like 3 generations, and every single one of them, when he did the fruity smell, the mice went nuts. So there is this trauma that we encounter from our ancestors. I had just to bring this home. I had a woman this last week who suffered from a thyroid issue, and she was in her 50s and had this thyroid issue since her teens, and she found that it had gotten larger and larger, and now it's growing to the point where it's trying to grow around her vocal cords and that sort of thing. My experience with people with thyroid issues from a perspective of emotions, the emotion associated with the thyroid when it's misbehaving is that there is a fear around communications. Like I cannot express myself for fear of hurting somebody or being hurt. And as I said to her, I said, everybody that I know that has a thyroid issue are the nicest possible people that I know. They are so kind. They don't want to hurt anyone with their words, so they don't say them. Now, I worked with this woman, and it just so happens that this woman is in America, and she's of African American descent. And when I was working with her with cogno movement, we put her eyes into a particular position, and with this particular portion of cogno movement, it allows us through different eye positions to get access to the subconscious. So she's there and she's focused on her thyroid issue, and then we knew this particular eye position was corresponding with this particular problem. There's certain signs that we know how that works. And all of a sudden, she starts crying. And the tears are just coming down. And she said that she saw slavery, all of her ancestors and their pain of their slavery, and that they could not express themselves, right? If you're a slave, an African American slave, you would literally, be beaten or killed, for expressing yourself. So this caused a major release for her and a realization. And this is, fairly common, right? We can help somebody to feel differently. And when you feel different, right, and free, right, freeing her so that she can communicate the truth. She had all of these life experiences where people were horrible to her, and really they were discriminating in ways and saying things that you're like, I can't even believe somebody said that to you. And she her experience was she couldn't really voice it. She couldn't stand up and say, hey, blah blah, you don't talk to me like that, or how dare you, or whatever be the case, but she couldn't do that. And so we got a wonderful major realization and a release, and kind of connecting the dots. And when you connect the dots, your neurology really responds. Your brain literally will connect neurons with a new idea, and all the other false ideas, those neurological connections prune away. So cogno movement helps with establishing neurological connections that are beneficial and pruning like unproductive neurological connections. Don't you know anybody that you've tried to talk to them for a long time, and you're trying to tell them, hey, not a good idea the way you're thinking. Try being positive. Try try forgiving, try looking at the bright side. And they're like, rah, 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 or they'll say, oh yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to look at the bright side. And you see them a few days later and they're right back at it again. And there's a reason for that, is they have literally a neurological loop going. There's a neurological loop that they cannot break. And this goes back to something really, really basic. It's stuck, first of all. But the reason it's stuck is because of their subconscious. They have a subconscious belief. Like, for example, the woman that I worked with, the subconscious belief is you're not safe if you express yourself. That came through her subconscious. Her subconscious was telling her as a feeling, you're not safe. You're not safe. So she couldn't express it. Our subconscious utilizes our physical body to express itself. And the way it does that is a feeling. So all of your feelings, whatever they are in your body, you didn't choose it. You didn't choose it. It was a reaction. All reactions are from the subconscious. That's what it is. The great news is that there are other possibilities. There is a possibility of changing it. And the way out is very simple. You think about and let yourself feel it, and then you can make certain movements which will basically make these new connections in your brain. You'll have new realizations, you'll have new thoughts afterwards, and a corresponding new life.
So it really does speak to, why are we the way we are? What is creating our reality? If you followed the show, you know that Bill and I also teach cogno-quantum, which is changing things in the quantum field. But the truth is, it all stems back to this subconscious, which really is the perspective that our neurological system holds. Just to clarify the point, we also had a person who was of Jewish descent, is of Jewish descent. And we all know about the Holocaust and what happened in Germany. She's Russian, actually. And we do a thing called athletic performance. We can change the way the body moves along the neurological lines as easily as we can change the emotional patterns. She was trying to do a very specific yoga pose that her body just would not go into. So we know if we change the neurological pattern that we can get the body to do what it is she wanted to do. So in this session of trying to just shift the way her body was moving, the subconscious or her neurological patterns, her genes, whatever it is, showed her the picture of family being buried alive in Russia. And that was a neurological pattern buried somewhere in her programming, in her body, that was actually preventing her body from moving the way she wanted it to now. So it speaks to, why are we the way we are? So all of it really is how our nervous system is running, the patterns it's generating. And our life really becomes the mirror of those things. We can't figure out why the same thing keeps happening again and again. It's because our nervous system is running that pattern. It's literally generating that signal. But where did that signal come from? Like, why the heck is that happening? Well, it could be, just like Bill was talking about in the DS study, something that happened to our family. So because they felt that way about it, we feel that way about it. Have you ever heard the stories of twins that are separated at birth? And somehow they name their dog the same thing and their wives are named the same thing and they go into the same profession? How the heck does that happen? How do you explain it? Well, it's easy. If you know that the nervous system, which includes all hemispheres of the brain, all the power lines, all the generating electrical signals, if you know that they are just a collection of all the things that they've experienced over time or through time, then you also know that with the system that we put together, they can be rerouted. Just like you can reroute any electrical signal, they can be rerouted between the hemispheres of the brain along the power lines. And as we were talking about before, there's so much scientific background in knowing that the brain sees things differently. We now know it's not just the left and right hemisphere, it's the physical body. If you move your eyes in the down position, you connect with the physical body, and it has an opinion. Physical body has lots of opinions. Left and right side of the brain have a lot of opinions. Higher self, higher mind, or the creative and inspirational mind are with eyes in the up position. We can connect with that. We can literally try on a subject in all these different perspectives that our one body holds. We have access to all of this programming throughout all of time if you know where to find it and how to find it. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll talk about that. How do you know where it is? How do you find it so that you can fix it? So we'll hold on just a second, see what they have to say here at UK Health Radio. All right, we're back. Thanks, UK Health Radio, for that. So we know that we feel the way we feel, right? I just feel the way I feel about this person. I just love who I love and hate who I hate. You know, I like corn, but I don't like asparagus. We just are that. But why? How do we know that we have that opinion? We think it's in our logical mind, right? We think it.
Yeah.
But there's scientific proof that that's not exactly accurate. We feel it first. We feel it, and there's a good reason for it. It's called the limbic system, or your reptilian mind. So if the brain had to think things through first, we would never get out of the way of that oncoming train or run away from the tiger that's on our butt, right? We would stand around and think, oh, I wonder how fast that train is going. Or I wonder if that cute kitty, if I should pet it. No, the nervous system is expert at this. It does this good job for us. Oh, crap, I better run. It immediately starts this cavalcade of chemicals, hormones, and electrical impulse that sends what we need to run and think about it later. It sends all the blood to the heart and to the muscles. The heart sends it to the muscles to have the energy to run. It sends oxygen to the lungs, and it pulls away energy from things like healing, other kinds of critical thinking. Like, we're not going to philosophize while we're running from a lion. We're just not going to, or out of the way of a train. The parts of the brain that are going to function are those, the limbic system or the reptilian brain, that tell you to get the heck out of the way, get yourself safe. Now, sometime later, when all the adrenaline is gone, you start to think it over and you philosophize. But in that moment, the nervous system is doing this amazing job of keeping you safe. Well, as it turns out, in our day and age, we don't have so many lions on our butt, and it's not that often that we have to get out of the way of a train, but we might have that spouse that annoys the crap out of us. And the limbic system goes into its pattern of keeping you safe, running. It starts that adrenaline going. And guess what? You're not really thinking things through. You're feeling them through. The anger comes and that pattern starts. I say this, they say that. They say that, so I say this. And we run on autopilot. So the physical body sends the feeling, and that feeling is based on what our ancestors knew, like the Diaz study, or that we have been programmed. We know we need to run from a tiger or out from in front of a train. So the reactions are autonomic for the most part. And then the most interesting part is that our brain makes up what to think about it, right?
Right.
My spouse makes me angry. So, or realistically, what happened is my physical body reacted in a very patternistic way to something they did. And then my mind made up that I'm angry, hurt, they're a jerk, they're trying to hurt my feelings, right?
Right.
When the whole thing is just a reaction. So with cognitive movement, we recognize that really early on. Body's in fight or flight, a lot of the time. We aren't actually able to use our logical thinking mind as much as we think we can, right? And we're reacting all the time. And with cognitive movement, because we have that core understanding of how the nervous system is working most of the time, we also know that we can reverse that. We can change that through the ability to access the play cells in the brain, the real pictures, what's really happening, and access through feeling. So I asked the question, how do we know? We know it because there's a physical sensation in our body. That's the place we start, right?
Right.
Where do you feel it? Where do you
Yeah. Where are you feeling it? Now, most people don't realize this, but the feeling, to iterate just a little farther what you were saying, is this all starts with a feeling, which is based upon the subconscious. You get a feeling first, and then you'll have a thought that equals the feeling. And the best way that I can kind of point this out is, have you ever found yourself getting up in the morning, or it could even be, for a lot of people, it happens in the morning, and they don't feel good. And then what happens is like, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel this way? And you literally find yourself searching for, why do I feel this way?
Yeah.
And then you're like, aha,
Yep.
I know why. It's because blah.
Yep.
So we don't even know why we feel this way, but we just search and find an equal for it.
Exactly.
There's an amazing technique is if you just don't attach, you let the body feel how it feels, and then don't attach to it. This is an interesting band-aid, but you'll find that the feeling will go away. The thing that keeps a feeling alive is the cycle. You think it, you feel it first, and then you think, oh, it's them. And then the feeling builds. And then you think, oh, yep, it's because of them. Yep, it's because of them. Yep. And so you create this neurological circuit where attaching this feeling to that thing.
And we do that collectively too.
Yeah.
Think about this. Have you ever been in an office situation or back to school where, Sammy Joe, she said something bad about Vicky, right? Oh, she's a jerk. Well, yeah. And also, did you know that she wears ugly pants? And yeah, did you know that her breath stinks? And right, pretty soon, because she did or didn't do something, now she's a monster. We keep tapping at that neurological feeling of, yeah, she's wrong. They're wrong. I'm right. We do it all the time, which means, and nobody's going to want to hear this. I don't even want to hear it. But the things we believe with our logical mind about the way things are, how a person is, whether they're a monster or an angel, most of the time have nothing to do with reality and have everything to do with all these lifelong or many lifetimes patterns built up programming in our nervous system. So what Bill and I do, what we discovered is that we can focus on the feeling in the body, because that's the truth of it. Your body feels that way, right? It just feels that way. And it feels that way in sensation. It could be a tickle. And we had somebody who had a pinprick on the bottom of their foot. It could be, a headache over their right eye, or it could feel like a big emotion that's very, very familiar. We know that if we can, in some ways, you might call it a challenge, but we can recognize, let the body feel the way it feels. Let the body be honest about it.
Right.
And then we use eyes, we use auditory, visual, kinesthetic inputs. We use all kinds of things that are already our body actually can do. This is very, very natural. We use those to change that physical neurological pattern. Once you no longer feel that way physically, you don't have the sensation anymore. You no longer feel that way emotionally, and the perspective changes. Remember, I said earlier that Dr. Grokkrist discovered that the left and right hemispheres may have actually even different personalities. In fact, he said that when they snip the corpus callosum, the thing that allows the two hemispheres to talk, usually they'll do this to stop seizure, that one hand may reach out and grab a jacket out of a closet and the other hand will take it and put it back. So once we remove this neurological feeling from the body, the autonomic nervous system's reaction, then we have access to all the perspectives that are available. So this goes down to, why is our life the way it is? Why does the same thing keep happening to us again and again? Because we continue to have the same generating feeling or neurological pattern. It's as simple as this. Change that neurological pattern or the feeling in the body, and you change your mind completely, automatically, and the strangest things happen. Your life becomes different. Like Bill said with the woman who's now, she said she's best friends with her mom. And if you could see the look on her face, she's like, and that's really, really, really different, right? We've had people walk out of a session and get a call from a family member somewhere thousands of miles away, apologizing for something that happened. And the person who had the session, all they did was change their physical body, neurological patterns, maybe even not on that subject. That's all that happened, is they changed the pattern. And we say that's generating your field, generating your life. And now the person in their life that they've had so much trouble with is completely different. They called and apologized, said, oh, gosh. In fact, we were at a retreat a couple weekends ago, and that happened to somebody. At the break of a session, one of the people in the retreat actually got an email from their mother that said, oh my gosh, I just realized I've been treating you this way your whole life. I mean, out of nowhere, right?
Right.
This is
what's
possible.
Shocking.
Yeah. So, we give everybody a tip or a trick every week. And I just want to give one quick, really, really quick one. So you'll notice a pattern happening. So let's say it's with a family member. I mean, it so often is. And you just, because of what you've heard today, you just realize, oh, I just felt that in my body. This is what I feel when they do that. Take a minute, walk somewhere else, go out of the room and feel that feeling in your body. And now just walk backwards. Just take 8 or 10 steps backwards. Turn around and take another 8 or 10 steps while you're focused on that physical feeling in your body. And just notice how it changes. Now, if you're willing to take it one step further, tell a little story about it. They always do this and I'm always that and they're wrong. Just walking backwards. It's not a permanent fix, like Bill said. What we do usually is, but it is a way for your nervous system to work differently than it ever has before around that subject. And you'd be surprised. Amazing things happen. Things change just by moving your body in a different way, getting that nervous system to do something else.
There is science behind this. There are nerves in your heels. And those nerves in your heels are directly connected to your brain. You're utilizing those to help to change your activity in your brain and how you feel. So it's a great technique. It sounds trivial, but like so many things we do with cogno movement, that you'll find amazing changes happening in your life from what would seem trivial movements with your body. So if you want to learn more about all of this, there's 2 free ebooks. The first one is called Suffering is Optional, and the next one is The Tiny Book of Big Manifesting. We have people that have manifested everything from really hot boyfriends to brand new Teslas. So you can get those 2 free ebooks at cognomovement.com. That's cognomovement.com. And there's when you go there, you just subscribe on the mailing list, and those 2 free ebooks will be emailed to you.
Well, Bill, I think let's give people just a couple more tips right before we go. We've got just a few more minutes because this is really fun. I mean, you guys can do this. You can try it out. Don't take our word for it. Try it out. So, okay. Hold on. One thing you can do is simply, let's give them, you want to give them the ear one too?
Sure.
Okay. So let's do 2 then. One, I'll give you one and Bill can give you the other. One is notice. Simply notice, oh crap, am I on autopilot? If you notice you're on autopilot, shift your eye position. Move your eyes to the left, move your eyes to the right, look up, roll them around in your head, get up, spin to the left, spin to the right, do anything you can, but move your eye position and notice if you're thinking about it a little bit differently. Just notice if your body changes a little and notice if you're thinking about it differently. All right, go ahead, Bill.
Okay, so to emphasize this just a little bit more, when you are having a particular feeling about something, well, let's call it unwanted, notice where your physical eyes are. Just where are you looking? Is it down and to the left? Is it over to the right? Wherever that is, look in a completely different position. Your head straight forward, but you move the physical eyes. If I'm looking down and to the left and thinking about how I got hurt, look up and to the right. So with this, what'll happen is you will access a different part of your brain. And notice if you maintain the position, your eyes are going to want to drift right on back to the lower left, right? Keep them up at the upper right. And see if new thoughts, new feelings, new perspectives come to you.
Okay, so we have 2 minutes, just one more. Bill alluded to the fact that the heels connect to the brain, but there's other parts of the body that do too. So tell them really quickly how to change something on the ear.
Okay, so your ear, we know from acupuncture, has access to all of the meridians in the body, the energy system in your body. And the outer lip of your ear is your spinal cord. This represents the actual cord that's inside the spine. Your spinal cord, your brain, and your eyes are all one system. So you can utilize any one of them to help to change your state. What you do is whatever you're thinking and feeling, just let yourself think and feel it and cross over your arm and feel down your outer lip of your ear. Does part of it hurt? Is part of it a little sensitive relative to the other? Go ahead and tell yourself the story of whatever happened and pinch and wiggle down on that outer lip of the ear. And especially around the hurt spot. And when you do this, you may notice if you do it a few times up and down, you might notice that some new perspectives come to you, or a dampening in that negative feeling. Thank you all so much for joining us today at New Life Perspectives radio show here. Thank you, UK Health Radio. You guys are awesome. Many great shows. Speaking of which, there are archived right on UK Health Radio. You can see our old episodes and lots of other good techniques. Thank you, Liz Larson. Thank you.
All right. See y'all next week. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.